Oh, does that mean I can start?
It does.
Wow, that's exciting. I always love when Mike gives me that nod right when I say something like that. Although I'm going to say that my camera is better than his right now because his is a little out of focus. So welcome everybody into the Sunday Night Sports Wrap. Joe Malkin, Mike Marcangelo, Bob Kelly, Rayshon Buchanan, and Craig D'Alessandro. We are missing the sixth member of our six-man crew, and that is Dave Clark. We hope he feels better. We'll just throw it out there because I'm sure he can throw it on in between bathroom visits. Guys, welcome into the Sunday Night Sports Wrap. It's been a while. We didn't do one of these last month. It's been pretty busy for all of us. So let's go around the room and let's see how everybody's doing. So Rayshon, how's it going in Boston?
It's good. Well, I could finally walk. So
hey, that's right.
I got a cane now, looking like Ron Isley from the Isley Brothers. So if you don't know who that is, look that up. But yeah, I can finally walk around. So that's the biggest difference between when we did a show in February to what we're doing now. So I'm super grateful for that.
Good, Bob Kelly. What's going on in upstate New York?
Not much, guys. Happy to be here once again. Like you said, we didn't do one last month, but missed it. Happy to be back with you guys. DK, hope you feel better. Pumped, ready to go. Let's go.
Mike, as your camera is now looking wonderful and we can see your handsome face, how is it in New Hampshire?
I was going to say I'm live, pixelated from the lake house. It's good to be with you guys, and I do love. There's just something about a live show, and I'm ready for it. Or as Ray will say, I'm here for it.
You already know.
That's absolutely. And clean-shaven Craig with the beanie still on. Craig, are you just trying to elude police, or was that?
I'm having a particularly bad hair day, so the beanie came out.
Are you? Are you really? That's good. That's
yeah,
good.
but yours always stays. Yours may be bigger, but it always stays in place. Mine just
Joe,
that's what she said.
Yours kind of. Oh, wow.
I was like, that is totally. I'm like, that's perfect.
I was just gonna say, Joe, yours kind of looks like Ken doll-esque, though, bro. So
yeah.
I wouldn't worry.
I know.
It's a very Ken doll flow going on up there.
Well, I am kind of like a Ken doll. You know, like I looked good in the 80s, and then I just got fat and started drinking a lot. So I figured I'd after taking a shot at Mike and Craig, I'd take one at myself. Is that fair, Mike?
It is fair. Yeah, it's
fair. All right, we're back to status quo, so that's good. So, guys, glad to hear everybody's doing well, and as we said, no DK tonight. We hope he's doing well, and we'll welcome him back with open arms. So, just kind of give you guys a rundown of what we've been doing. And we have 7 people tuning in. I'm sure that number will go up.
700.
But for 7, I'm sorry, that's right. It is. There are 2 zeros there. That's right. 700 people are currently watching us. So. If you haven't listened to our most recent podcast, go check those out. We had a great interview with former Boston Celtics GM Jan Volk, and we've had some good original content out lately. We had our interview with Karen Garegian, and we also had one with Dan Shaughnessy. So it's been a great few weeks for us here, and we're happy to be back on the live show. Mike, I'm with you. These live shows are always fun. It's great to come on, see you guys, and have people come in and comment. And there's Aaron Cass, Rayshon's buddy from his other podcast. So
I don't even know who this man is.
We don't know Aaron. Aaron's in here all the time.
He's here all the time. He's a supporter.
I don't know him.
And my mom's here.
One of my wonderful co-hosts. Hey, Mom. How you doing, Mom?
Yeah, my mom's here. In before
my
Mike's
sister's,
mom this
my
week,
my sister's listening too. So
yeah,
the whole family's tuned in.
I'll take care of this before it happens. Ray, my mom says hi. You're still her favorite.
Oh, that's good to know. How you doing, Mom?
All right, guys. So we got a lot to talk about, and later on this week we are going to do and release a draft show for the NFL as the NFL draft begins on Thursday evening. We've also had Major League Baseball get into full swing. Hockey's coming down to the wire in the NHL. The NBA is heating up as always. So we got a lot to talk about, and let's start with the NBA, and let's start with the Boston Celtics and how things have been going with that team. They're coming off of back-to-back losses, one of which came against probably arguably the best team in the NBA, at least the best team in the East, which is the New Jersey Nets. So I'm just going to call them New Jersey because I just don't like the fact that they're so damn good.
2002?
I just don't like the fact that they're so damn good and they went out and spent all their money, and it makes that Kyrie guy look good, and I don't like it.
He's pretty good.
I like when he's making himself look like a clown personally, but he's been looking pretty good lately and he's been playing very well. So the Nets currently have a 1-game lead in the East over the 76ers, who also look very good. And our Boston Celtics are 8.5 games out of first place, sitting down in 6th, which they've kind of gone back and forth between 4th, 5th, 6th over the last couple weeks. And with their most recent loss to Charlotte, 125-104 earlier this afternoon, somebody came in and said this is pathetic, and I believe that was Bob Kelly who came into the Discord. So, Bobby, why don't you give us your feelings on the Boston Celtics right now? Where did that Boston accent come from? Did you hear that? That was ridiculous. Sorry, Bobby, go ahead.
So I did like that accent, by the way. Slipped
Thanks.
it right in there.
I didn't even mean to.
No, I mean, they're just so frustrating. They're such a Jekyll and Hyde team. I had a feeling today was going to go the way it did. As soon as Tatum had that lazy pass in the first quarter and Rozier came and stole it, I was like, all right, yep, this is the type of day game it's going to be. You knew exactly who this team was, and I think Robert Williams being out is a big deal to the defensive mindset of this team. But to show up and lay an egg against a Charlotte Hornets team, man, all that good feelings that we had about this team for the past week and a half, to me, went out the window, because like that's just a game you can't lay an egg like that. And they got absolutely dominated from the beginning of that game to the end. They didn't have a chance. They cut it to 7 at one point, and it was like, okay, nope, back to 17 within 3 minutes. So it's like that game was microcosm, however you want to say it, of the entire season. Chasm, whatever. Yeah. But it's just it's so frustrating to see this team, and like there is moments where I think that they absolutely can make a run, but then you see them today and you're like, yeah, no chance. Are they getting out of the East? Not a chance. So
Bobby mentioned the egg that they laid today. They lost to at that point the Charlotte Hornets, who were 29-30 coming in. And by the way, I know Mike might bring it up. If you do hear stomping above me, it's my children being wild animals, which they have been since they woke up this morning. The Boston Celtics came into this game 4 games above 500 at 32-28. Mike, what are your thoughts on this team right now? I'm sure they're pretty close to Bobby's, but
yeah. I think that we just have to now, like, we know what this team is. This isn't a deep playoff run team. They're not that, right? Because their bench does not have anyone on there that will help them win a 7-game series versus a serviceable opponent. And I think the sooner that we accept that and we just have to move on and maybe just enjoy the ride that we're going to be on for the next couple of weeks. But for the amount of talent that's in the starting lineup of this team, they just underperformed. There's just not even a word for it, really. It's embarrassing. Now I know that there's COVID. I get it. I understand that they've been affected by it the most. Again, sure, but they should have had enough talent throughout those games to be, let's say, 4th in the East. Like you are more talented than the Knicks. Fair. Maybe you don't play as tough, but you have the talent. So I think what we've seen recently, I know that they're 7-3 in their last 10, but they've lost 2 in a row. They are a Jekyll and Hyde team, and if they get out to a really big lead, sure that they do have a solid chance of winning. They have shown some spine recently in coming back, but honestly, unless you get the most favorable of matchups in the playoffs, this isn't the team.
Well, so that's a good point, Mike, and this is now I'm going to kind of shift that into my question for Ray Sean here, because Ray, Jaylen Brown, 20 points today, Kemba Walker, who has been playing much better lately. He looks healthy. He looks like he's back. The team, oddly enough, is gelling more, but Ray, 20 from Kemba, 20 from Jaylen, 19 from Tatum. What is the identity of this team?
61 games in, they still don't have one, and that's the biggest problem, right? So you have those 3 guys, and like I said, they really haven't had games together where they've all clicked at the same time. If we get to that point where they're clicking like that, then they could go on a run because those three guys are very good. But we haven't seen it. I think the point was just made about Rob Williams being out, and that is true, right? Because it was more prevalent today in today's game than it was on Friday night against Brooklyn. That threat that you can just throw it over the top to Rob Williams is something that they're missing right now, and you're not doing that with Tristan Thompson, even though he had a great start. That's not happening, with him on a consistent basis. So, the absence of Rob Williams is hurting, and then on top of that, they quit when things do not go their way. Right now, I'm with them. Marcus Smart got fouled. He got fouled. You cannot hook somebody. Like you're doing, like you're square dancing. That's what happened. Like he hooked him like he was square dancing, and he went up for the shot, and the referee once again was right there in position and didn't call it. He comes down and my thing is, you knew that when Myra Bridges got that ball, it's like you knew just how that afternoon was going, how this afternoon was going. That shot was going in, right? And that was the game. They had cut it down to 9. They played great in that third quarter, but as soon as Myra Bridges hit that 3, they went up 12. I'm like, yeah, it's a wrap. It's over. Because, as I always say on the Discord, a ball game, because it was just like, like what can they do in this moment? The defense was bad, the body language was bad, and then if calls weren't going that way, it was the perfect storm for them to say, you know what, we don't have it today. Let's just get back to Charlotte's airport and head back home.
And that's one thing is like, you guys know I love Jason Tatum. I talk him up so much. The one thing that bothers me about Jason Tatum is how fast he gets out of his game. He can be the most dominant player on the basketball court. He can be amazing. But as soon as he doesn't get 3 fouls driving to the hoop, as soon as something bad happens to him, he is toast, man. And from the very beginning of this game, you knew he didn't have it. That pass that he had in that backcourt that Rozier still was unacceptable, man. Unacceptable. You can't do that as professional basketball. You can't do that as a goddamn high school player. And then you have Jason Tatum just like casually lobbing it up in the back. I love him, but you're right, Ray. It's as soon as something gets away from this team, their body language just disappears. It's crazy, man.
So the real question I want to ask, though, and it's kind of an off-the-court issue, but do we think that Tristan Thompson cheated on Khloe Kardashian?
Well,
yes.
I don't know what the man
Probably.
did. He probably did. I mean, and because they talked about him messing with Jordan Woods, which I don't blame him if that's the case. Listen, we are honest here on Missing the Point. We're not going to sit here and give the PC answer. Jordan Woods is fine as hell, but at the same time, those that are married, stick to your wives. Don't stick outside their marriage. But Jordan Woods is fine as hell. I'm just being honest. Yeah, literally. Okay.
Hold on, I gotta Google this.
Yeah. No, I'm just being honest. But the same fire he's showing with other people off the court, I need to see him show the fire on the court too. Just saying.
Oh yeah,
just saying. So
it's good that the single guy said that, right, Mike and Bobby? It's good that we'll leave that talk to those two.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I wonder why we're single.
Right, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, by the way, Craig and Ray are single. If anybody's looking for a date, we can do we should do a Missing the Point dating show for these two guys. That would be great. People would love to learn about Craig for sure. He's definitely an interesting person. I mean, Ray is a very interesting person as well, but we all know that Craig is an interesting person. Sorry, let's type that out. So back to the Celtics. So we look at the East. You have the Heat, who right now are basically in a dead heat with the Celtics in 6th and 7th. Those two teams are tied. The Celtics must hold the tiebreaker there. And you have the Hornets, who are in the 8th spot. It's 9 teams that get in this year, right?
10.
Is
10.
it? It's 10.
Well, because 7 through 10 will do the play-in, and then the 2 teams that
that's right.
That's to me that's the goal of this team, right? We gotta. If there's one team I'd think that as a 7th seed is going to get knocked out in one game, it's the Boston Celtics. You know, like the way this team plays, I do not trust them in a win or go home 1 game playoff. Yeah. I do not trust it, and I can almost guarantee they would lose that game. If Tatum's off, it's a recipe for disaster if we end up in that play, and it really is.
Sorry, Joe, but as it's currently constituted, like if it ended today, we play Milwaukee, right? And I don't think that that's the worst matchup for us, but I still don't see us winning a 7-game series against them. I think that Giannis will take over. I don't just to kind of go into what Bobby just said. I don't believe that Jason Tatum will take over a meaningful playoff game and be the reason that you win. I could be alone in that here. And if I am, let me have it. But I think out of the two, between him and Jaylen Brown, Jalen's more likely to do it. He has guts, and he does not back down. You very rarely question the level of compete that Jalen's putting out. You can often point to a situation where Jason says, yeah, he's kind of packed it in. It just didn't go his way. So I'm out on them. Now, if they make a deep run in the playoffs, stay tuned for those episodes where I'm hyping them up. But right now, I'm out on them.
I would have to say I am as well, but I wasn't very high on them to begin with. And so I'm going to direct this towards Ray then. Ray, we all know that in the NBA, a lot of teams will kind of sit back and wait, and they won't put their pedal to the metal. We saw the Lakers kind of do that last year in the bubble and everything else, where they really didn't push forth until the playoff run. But who is the team right now in the East to beat? Is it Brooklyn? Is it Philly? Or is it Milwaukee?
Right now, I got to go with Philadelphia. I know the popular pick would be Brooklyn, but I'm just like, when you don't have I just have to see them healthy. Like, if Brooklyn's healthy, then obviously that's easily the pick. Regardless of what we felt early. Well, I won't say we, because I wanted James Harden here in Boston. Some other guys on the show that said no, but you can speak for yourselves on that one. But to me, I'm like, you take the star every time. That's just my take on it. But to me, for me, it's Philadelphia. Philadelphia, like I said, Simmons is really in contention for Defensive Player of the Year. Embiid has been a man amongst boys. I love the way he's playing this year. And really, they're surrounded by shooters, right? So Danny Green, Steph Curry, Tyrese Maxey. So they have a load of talent there, and Doc Rivers was doing his thing there, and I'm excited to see what they're going to do in the play. But I got to go with Philadelphia right now.
How do you say that about a team that's 5-5 and their last 10 has lost 4 in a row?
Because Dan Joe just said they're the number 1 seed in the East. Didn't they say that?
No, they're the two. They're a game back.
They're a game back. My bad. Well, either way, I still think that they're still the team to beat. Like, I'm not Milwaukee. I'm sorry. Like, I don't trust the team. If you're telling me a big three of Giannis, Chris Middleton, and Drew Holiday is going to get to the finals, I'm just sorry. In the middle sentence, but yes, Brian. Yeah, Grant Williams is Lacerda, trash. Whatever word you want to use for trash, he is that. He is awful. He is a joke. He needs to get out of Boston. But I'm right with Philadelphia.
I'll drive his ass to the airport tomorrow.
Please.
Waiter Grant Williams.
Oh my God.
I am so sick of this man on the basketball court.
Brian has been on us about this a lot, and he's actually the guy that sent over that picture that we posted on our story last week.
Oh, nice. Well, thank you, Brian. Appreciate you.
Can someone please, why is he playing meaningful minutes in a basketball game? Why is he guarding?
Horseshoes likes him. That's the problem. Horseshoes is a fan of him.
So he's got dirty pictures on horseshoes. Like he seems.
I don't know. Well, he ain't seen nothing. He's got
him with his horseshoe. He's got him with his horseshoes off somewhere.
Right.
Right.
It's brutal, man. He's brutal.
It's bad. And it's like, I get it. Like, even last year, right? Like, he went 40 games where he was hitting the 3, and then it was like, they were praising him once he finally hit a 3. It was like, oh, like Grant Williams finally hit a 3. Like, the bench was going crazy. Then, he had a nice little run in the playoffs. He did okay in the Toronto series or whatever, mainly because Gasol was slower than the snail. So I get it. So, he can move a little bit. He's okay on defense, but it's like he can't stop fouling. Like, it's just, I don't know, Brian. I don't know. We should jump. We should get our media pass and ask him, Brian, why does he have a hard on for Grant Williams? I don't get it. I really don't. But you could have had Brandon Clark. Could have had him.
While you're on your soapbox here, let's go back to the conversation that I've had about this team forever. Is that there is a disconnect somewhere between Danny Ainge, Brad Stevens, and the players. There's a disconnect. There has
horseshoes,
been.
Horseshoes.
I understand, but this is the problem, and this you and I agree on this part, Ray. That this is the problem with Brad Stevens at this point in his career as an NBA head coach, right? So the rumor was that with Indiana was going to offer him $10 million a year to come coach at IU. Okay. Now listen, but this is where I understand why he didn't go and why he won't go to Indiana. First of all, Indiana's not a okay. Second of all, the job is in the NBA. You have to imagine that he's making more money than that. Even if it's $250,000, he's making more than that. We'll never know. It's kind of how salaries go for coaches now in sports. We don't know. Bill Belichick makes sure they say $25 million, but is that real, or could it be higher? Could it be lower? So the reason why he has a hard on for these guys is because he has more control over personnel than we think he does. And when Wick Grossbeck comes out and starts talking the way he does about Danny Ainge, and we've asked people that we've had on this show about this, right? About why is Wick saying the things he's saying? Why is Danny saying the things he's saying? And why is Brad being Brad? Because there is a disconnect between those three guys, and there's a problem. And Brad is being allowed to, which as the head coach, you should be allowed to play the players you can, but didn't they just get rid of Daniel Tice so he would stop playing guys for that reason? And now he's doing it with Grant Williams.
Yeah, but Tice was serviceable. Grant Williams serves.
Sure, right. He was but I'm not comparing the players. I'm comparing the playing minutes. No, but I'm not comparing the players. I'm comparing the playing minutes and why Brad was playing them. So I can't answer the question as to why he has a hard on that Brian asked for playing Grant Williams. Brad Stevens could have a hard on for a million reasons, but for why he plays Grant Williams, we'll probably never know.
Yeah, in the last 10 games, Grant Williams has played right about 20 minutes every single game. He has not scored over 10. He has not scored over 10 points in any of those games, and does not have more than 5 rebounds in any of those games. 20 minutes, not more than 10 points, and not more than 5 rebounds. What the hell is going on?
And this guy was the 22nd pick in the draft. What are we doing?
Man.
What are we doing, Brad? Horseshoes, what are we doing?
Well, the draft. Hang on, the draft is Danny. Now, I guarantee you that Brad has a say in that, but we all know that at the end of the day, because we've said this about Bill with the Patriots again. Again, to go to the football side of it, we all know that the GM has the final say. So that's Danny.
Brandon, we could have had Brandon Clark here. You may not know who that is, Joe, but Mike and Bobby. We could have had Brandon Clark here, who came from Gonzaga. We could have had him here. He's doing very well in Memphis, and the fans would have loved him here. But no. We have to go to a guy that smiles all the time, that talks too damn much in practice. It's like, what are we doing? We could have had Matisse Thybulle too. That's in Philly, and he's playing great defense over there. Like, you wanted Marcus Smart replacement? I bet you, and this is not on the sheet, but I'm going to bring this up. If we kept Thybulle, we probably would have traded Marcus Smart. Smart would have been gone though, because of that could have been his replacement there, because he can guard the 2 and the 3. Then you get Aaron Gordon. Maybe you get just saying, but I mean, whatever.
Grant Williams is a minus 4.5 on the season. A minus 4.5 per game on the season. It's disgusting.
Take the dust a little way. He's really a minus 45. He's pathetic. He's a joke. He's a joke.
So one of the things that's on Mike's list of questions here, and thank you, Mike, once again for putting this together. But this team did lose to the Nets the other night, and I don't think it was as bad as maybe you guys think it was. But how bad was it with Jalen and Kemba out and Grant Williams getting those 20 minutes?
Oh. Go ahead, Ray.
I mean, you wrote down the question, Mike, so I got to ask it.
No. I wrote this because of what Ray wrote in our chat, and I thought that he could just expound upon that for our listeners.
Oh, don't mind if I do. Well, we go back to Friday night, obviously, because Mike was more forgiving than he usually is, and I was shocked at that. He's like, oh, we don't have Jalen, we have Kemba, those guys didn't play, and blah blah blah, all this BS, right? Well, I'm sorry, Brooklyn didn't play with KD or Harden. and they was out there getting smacked for most of the game, and then they went on this little surge, and I was like, yo, like what's happening here? Because I'm like, okay, now you're finally playing. And Kyrie didn't even play that well Friday night, and you still got beat. So I'm like, dog. I was like, if you cannot do this against only a Kyrie-led team, which we talked about, he can't lead, he can't do X, Y, and Z, and he was getting other guys involved. So if you watch the tape, he was doing that Friday night. He got other people involved. Something he didn't know was doing here, and something he didn't know was doing in Cleveland. He was getting other guys involved. And, oh my God! Sorry, before I go any further, Evan Fournier, I can't believe. Okay, I can't believe. Why was you don't come off a shooter? Marcus Smart could guard Blake Griffin. This is not 2012. He can guard Blake Griffin one-on-one. You don't help off a shooter. That is high school. That is YMCA level basketball. You do not help off a shooter. You don't do that. Like, what the hell is your problem, bro? Like, you don't do that. So that essentially cost him the game the other night. But like I said, I'm not gonna get an aneurysm over that right now because I feel like I'm getting out. I'm gonna chill. But it's just like it's ridiculous to me that I just feel like if we couldn't beat them without KD and Harden, we damn sure ain't gonna do it when them guys are healthy. It's just not gonna happen unless somebody catches fire that we didn't expect catch fire on Boston. But we don't have a shot. We really don't. And that might be raw emotion, but yeah, I mean I'm with you, Joe.
No, well, I was going to say,
talked about
Sam Cassell. I want you.
Oh,
I want you as the next.
I'd be
the t-shirts we could sell with the dread. Oh, I'm in. Let's go. Give me Rayshawn Buchanan as the head coach.
King of the fourth over here.
King of the fourth, right? Yeah, it's like no, I would love that, but I don't know if my heart could take being the coach of the Celtics or any Boston team for that matter. Like I don't know if I could do that.
It's different when you're coaching. It's different. It's a different attitude.
It is, but I'd be much of the same guy though. On like absolutely, like, I'm too much of a competitor. I hate to lose. And it's just like if I see you smiling after a game, like I'm throwing a chair immediately. There is no, hey, let's hug it out, And yes. I don't agree. I don't agree with that. I don't agree with that, Brian. He's got to be healthy. He should score more. If you're saying that, if you're basing it off offense, Romeo Langford's an NBA defender, Brian. So I don't know what you value, but he's an NBA defender right now. He has to be better scoring. I agree with you on that. If you're saying he has to be a better scorer, Romeo Langford can defend, and that's why he's out there. He's not out there to be a guy who's going to get you 15 a game. Yes, he was Mr. Basketball in Indiana when he was in high school, and he did really well in his freshman year before getting hurt in Indiana. But no, he's an NBA defender. As long as you can defend, you're going to stay in this league. So, that's just how I see it.
I was actually going to direct this question towards you, Bobby, and you and Rayshawn, because I've been searching for answers, and I just can't find them. When do we give up on the Taco Fall experiment? Like when is enough?
Go ahead, Bobby. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I just don't think we've seen it. I mean, granted, he has no horizontal mobility. That man cannot move side to side. It's literally impossible. But we just don't see him. I don't know. You know what I mean? I feel like that's the thing is like they are going to give up on him just because Brad has an obsession with undersized big men. He doesn't play real big men.
Oversized big men.
Well, but we never see Taco. So
right.
I don't know. I feel like the experiment's over. Brad hasn't wanted Taco from day one. I don't think so, in my opinion.
And this is not Coach Carter. This is not a reclamation project. This is not that. This is real life. Like this is real life, bro. Like I've said this. And DK, once again, feel better, brother. We miss you. Wish you could have been on the show. Because I know you got on me about this before, but I have to reiterate this once again. Taco Fall is nothing more than a sideshow.
Yeah,
that's all he is, especially in today's NBA. It's like once again. Now, has he gotten better from year 1 to year 2? You better believe he has, because you can see certain games like his movement has definitely gotten better. His condition has gotten better. But if he was that good, or to use our line from one of our favorite wrestlers, Triple H, if he was that damn good, he'd be on the court. He'd play. He would play, but he doesn't play. It's like I'm sick of it. Like I need him. He has to go. Like get somebody, and Tremont Waters, get his ass out of here.
Yeah.
Carson Edwards, get his ass. Like let him go. Like Jabari Parker, that was a good signing. Like he's been decent so far.
Yep.
I like Luke Cornett as well. I think Cornett's going to be decent. I like that he brings some type of size. But yeah, Taco Fall's got to go. Like I'm not understanding why that's still there. As if like, yo, I mean, granted, if you're saying for the fan experience, like we had that with Brian Scalabrine back in the day too.
That's what I was going to compare him to.
That's exactly what he is. Like it's like, yo, like I was like, oh, like let's go Scal, White Mamba. That's great, but I'm like, yo, I want to win, bro. I'm not sitting here just to put on a jumpsuit and say go team. If I could do that, I could watch a movie, watch the replacements, and be a damn mascot. Like I'm not. This is ridiculous.
It's a great movie, but
it is a great movie.
So the thing with this team is like, what I'm going to pivot from Taco Fall for a moment. What really bothers me is like the bench. Mike, you said this earlier. The bench isn't good enough to win playoff games, but the moves we've made have actually made this team 10 deep. It's just A, it hasn't been healthy together, and B, Brad doesn't play the guys that I think should be in that rotation 7, 8, 9, 10. Right? We got Pritchard, we got Fournier, we got Parker, and we got Cornet. All four of those guys are serviceable bench players. But the thing is we have Langford, we have Williams, we have all these guys that don't belong in a court. Tremont Waters, like Ray said, and they're playing significant minutes over these guys, and I just will never understand it. So I'm with Ray, and that this is all a horseshoes problem.
Langford and Pritchard to me can be interchangeable. Not from a sense of Langford should get more minutes than Pritchard, but I mean like if you need him to give you 3 or 4 minutes on the defensive end, he could do that. He could come in for Smart and play some defense. So I'm fine with Romeo doing that because Romeo he's gonna play hard on defense. I'm cool with that. Now you're losing some offense with him, unfortunately, because he's not there yet offensively. But like I said, Pritchard's ready. Jabari Parker is ready. Rob Williams is ready. And my thing, I'll go back to you, Mike, or Joe, you can chime in on this as well. Do you think Rob Williams still starts in the playoffs?
Yes.
Or do you think that Tristan Thompson takes back the role?
I think he has to start. I think based on what you've seen, like when he was the starter, how the team kind of clicked, he has to be it. Now I do worry though. Up until this year, Robert Williams has never strung together more than 16 games in a row. So there is a problem there. And if they're going to make a deep playoff run, he's going to be your starter. He has to be durable, and he has to make sure his conditioning's there. So are you asking me, like, based on pure talent, who do I want to start? It's Williams. Based on the fact that your durability and reliability, it might be Tristan and have Williams come off the bench. I just think that I think Williams is your most electric of the two, right? Like he gives you the best chance to create plays on offense, and he's gotten a little bit better about his up fakes, right? But he's really good on defense.
Yeah.
So we were down on him, and now we're up on him again. Okay, I know how we all feel about Tristan Thompson again. So now we're a half an hour into the show, and welcome if you're just joining us. Welcome into the Oscars pre-show podcast here on Missing the Point. But hey, Ray, I got to point something out. You were very disrespectful to Brian Scalabrine, and I'll direct this at Bobby as well. You said you wanted to win. Brian Scalabrine has a ring with the Boston Celtics, so you two back off, White Mamba. Okay, you can get Taco Fall out of here, but Brian Scalabrine is a regional treasure. Okay,
he's a terrible commentator, though.
No, that's not true. That's not true. He's a good color guy. He's a good color guy.
He's very toxic towards Abby Chin. Okay, and she is a friend of the show, so I don't like that.
Well, I mean, she did say on the show that she wondered how he was going to treat her compared to how he treated Kyle Draper. So maybe that's what she was talking about. But I mean, I feel like they've gotten better. But
maybe that was a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Well, we know
pretty much.
We know Abby's not afraid to go after people either. So
not at all.
He's also way better than the Red Sox color commentator. So that's all I thought. Remy, way better. So there's just not even close.
So this is another conversation for another time. And we could do a whole show on this. But think about these guys that are color commentators in Boston, and none of us are. So clearly these guys are doing something right, or they play professionally, as the three guys did that I'm about to bring up. But Scalabrine, Remy, and Zolak. I mean, none of them are good, but I love all of them.
Zolak's really good.
Zolak.
Zolak is
I don't like Zolak.
Show ponies.
Yeah,
that's what I'm talking about. Because Zolak is really good because he knows the game. He knows the ins and outs of this organization because he was a part of this organization during the Robert Kraft ownership era and left just before Bill Belichick took over. So that's why Zolak is he actually had some choice words about Brady the other day, which were kind of funny to listen to on air. But it doesn't mean he's good. It's okay to say that these guys are bad because honestly, I like all three. Well, actually, I like Zolak better than Remy, and I like Remy better than Scalabrine. But Scalabrine still has a championship ring, so you can't take that away from him. But of those three guys, none of them are that great.
Well, as a player, no, but as commentators,
as a player,
yeah. Like I think Zolak. I think so, and. I've never been a Remy guy ever. That's just me. But I think because those two have played in a more modernized version of their sport, it's easier to relate. Now, granted, Zolak was out in 90, 99, 2000, whatever, but Remy was out in the 80s, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Playing with Jim Rice and those guys. Like, I mean, but even and Jim Rice is basically
back in the day, wasn't he?
No, he played on some good teams.
Remy was All-Star when?
It wasn't All-Star.
Yeah,
oh my god, that's a shock. I feel like all he did was bunt and try to steal bases. That's a shocker. I didn't know. Whoa, hey, congrats, Jerry Remy. I didn't know.
Hey, that's real baseball.
It is real baseball, but I'm like, he to me, he wasn't that good. But I loved him and Darno Solo, obviously.
Yes, sure.
It was great. But the reason why I feel like that combination was great, but the reason why I feel like people don't rock with Remy is like Dennis Eckersley is so good. I love Eckersley. Is so awesome. He's like,
he's an asshole.
It's time to party. It's time to party. Like that Mookie call a few years ago.
I'm telling you.
That was just awesome. Like that's why. That's
all right.
You don't have those moments with them. You have the moments with Eckersley. And then obviously with Zoe, you can have your Mannings. I'll have my Brady. That's what I remember. But it's like I'm still taking. I like Scal. I like Scal as a commentator. That's just me. I agree with a lot of his takes, honestly. But obviously, I'm more like Big Park.
I also
obviously
before Joe retrieves us from this awful rabbit hole that we're in, I'll just say that Scal it's a bigger disservice to him because of who he's replacing, right? Like it's hard to replace Tommy. With Mike.
Yeah, agreed. Okay,
and
fair point.
Yeah, I mean, but and on the Patriots side, it was extremely hard to.
Yeah, but they messed them in, right? There was
replace Gino Cappelletti and
there was
Gil
a three-man
Santos.
booth for a while. Like Zoe was on the sideline, so we knew what was coming. I think Celtics fans.
Yeah, they knew Cappelletti
in a basketball mind, and the way that you want to understand the game and what's being presented to you, Heinsohn and Gorman did it better than anyone in Boston ever. They were just easily relatable.
Agreed.
So it's hard for Scout. Now he might be okay, but if he's not great, we're going to hold that against him because of the shoes that he has to fill. So that's why we should just grade him on a scale.
Yeah. That's fair.
So, all right. So I have two questions here in the last 20 minutes of the hour. I'm not skipping over, but I'm going to bring us back here, Mike, as you mentioned. So, two questions, and one is related to the comment that Bob's dad just threw into the comments, and one is from an NBA standpoint. So, the first one is it time for Brad to go? Maybe not right now, right? The season's coming to a close. They're likely going to be in the playoffs. Whether it's a play-in or deeper, we don't know. It's probably not going to be the deepest run. We've seen the articles. We've heard the sound clips about how Wick doesn't have any plans to get rid of Brad or Danny. Is it time for Brad Stevens to go? And I'm not talking about who's going to come in for him and replace him like we've been talking about with commentators in Boston. Is it time for Brad to go?
I'll go first because I think Bobby and Rayshawn are more eloquent and knowledgeable. So I'll just put that right out there, right? So we'll start off and get better as we go. I believe that he lost the room last year. I think that I know that it might sound like a broken record, but I'm harping on that Miami Heat series. You cannot lead in the fourth quarter of every game in that series and not win. You can't. And if that happens, it's because you are not doing what you need to do as a head coach to make sure that your players stay up and are prepared in the fourth quarter. Number one. I would also say he's not a guy for all-stars. He cannot coach all-stars. He can develop people into a team. We talked about this before. He can take a team that has no expectations and you'll love them. You'll believe in them, and he'll make them fun to watch. But once you put that little tinge of pressure, we've seen it. His ceiling is the same. It's still the Eastern Conference Finals. Now, with Tatum and Brown being developing more and more as the years go on, I think what we're seeing now is maybe he can't even get them back there because he doesn't know how to manage the personalities. So yeah, I'm out on Brad, but I will throw this in there before I kick it over to one of the other two. I would move Tatum before Brad.
I think that's blasphemy. Brad's got to go, man. He's got to go. I completely agree, Dad. And yes, I will be buried in the Celtics shirt. He's got to go, man. Like to watch the mistakes and the mental lapses that this team has, it just to me points to one thing, and that's coaching. Because it's not like it's every once in a while. It's anytime they face adversity, anytime it's a day game, anytime you need someone to get your team up, which is what a motivated, great head coach can do, this team falls flat on their face every single goddamn time. So I completely agree. I think he's completely lost the room. I just think it's time. You know what I mean? Like, listen, he's a great coach. He brought them really far. But when it comes down to it, it's like if this was anyone else, and Ray, Mike, I've said this to everyone. If this was anywhere else, anyone else, he would already be on the hot seat, if not fired. You know what I mean? Anywhere, he's already gone. And for some reason here in Boston, that's not the case. Ray, I think you told me before it's because of Wick. Wick loves his guys. He won't fire him. I just think it's crazy. I think he's got to go. I couldn't agree more.
Right, so,
long sigh. Pause. I like it.
It's a long sigh, and then I remember what we were taught. You don't have dead air. So sorry, Craig. Mr. Marcangelo. Oh God. Okay. Why are you so hell bent on breaking up this tandem? We'll get back to horses in there.
Hang on. Ray, I want to throw something in here. I agree with Mike.
Okay, so I'll ask both of y'all then. Why are y'all looking to get rid of this tandem so soon? So one of y'all, either
but
one of y'all can go.
No. Okay.
It is though. They're so young.
No. Wait, Bob. I want to hear Mr. Malcolm and Mr. Martinez answer. So go ahead. Go ahead, guys.
So, Mike, let me take this one because we've talked about this on so many episodes before. As Craig is scrolling our interviews down below, he can get into all the episodes where we talked about you got to give these guys time. You got to give these guys time. You got to give them X amount of years. And the number that keeps coming back to me that Bobby and Ray have kept saying was 5 to 6. We're coming up on that number, right? That's right. I'm correct in that. We're coming up on their fifth year and their fourth year. Yeah. Okay. So next year, right? So these guys were drafted by this regime for the Boston Celtics. And we just talked about, and I think we can all agree on that Brad is a developer. He is not a coach of all-stars, correct? Yeah. Okay. Both of them are all-stars. They've developed to that point. They have outgrown Brad Stevens. So I understand what you're saying. If you change the coach here, that's going to change the culture and change everything else. But it's still Brad's team that's going to be here. So you're just going to take a coach and you're going to throw them in with Brad's team, which is set up like a college roster. Even though he has Tatum and Brown, they're set up like a college roster. So I don't think Mike's saying, and I don't want to speak for Mike, so I'll speak more for myself. It's not about breaking up the tandem to break up the tandem. It's about setting the team forward for the next coach that's going to come in. Now, I agree with Mike in the sense that you should move on from Tatum before you let Brad go. But the only problem I have with that, Mike, is I think if you change the coach first, and this is kind of a sidebar with Mike, and then going back to Ray and Bobby, if you change the coach first, you can selling Tatum better than if they went and traded him before they got rid of Brad.
So the reason that I would move, okay, hypothetically, if I'm going to move somebody, it's going to be Tatum before Brad. One, because realistically, I don't think that Danny Ainge will ever fire Brad Stevens because, as I've said before, Brad Stevens doesn't have a hand in picking the groceries, right? He doesn't care about who Danny's going to trade for or draft. He lets Danny be Danny, right? And for the most part, when there were no expectations on this team, Brad overexceeded those. I believe in my heart of hearts and based on all the games that I've watched, Jason Tatum he's going to be a superstar, but there are certain superstars that don't mesh with others, right? Not everyone is going to be Jordan and Pippen. And I think you can get more for Tatum. I think that they're positionally redundant. I don't think that either of them do. I think they both do the same things really well, and there's not a lot of diversity in what they do. So what you do is if you can get Tatum and you can get Bradley Beal in here, like you're telling me right now, gun to your head, Ray, you would not trade Jason Tatum for Bradley Beal.
No, because I want them to play together. No. We said that before. We won't. I'm saying no, but I'm saying he's asking me like I was saying like I want Tatum and Beal to be together in the summer that Kemba could. I think Kemba's up next year. I think so. I want Tatum and Beal to be together, and then you got Brown, right? But okay, I think we brought this up. And who the hell said Miami?
That was Craig.
Oh God. Well, listen. The only thing they're going to Miami, they're going to go to Mangoes, and I know because I live there. Mangoes is a great spot. No, but I want to say this, and everyone can just say yes and no real quick to this. So, if you agree to this, so are Tatum and Brown the modern day Pearson Walker?
I've made that comparison before. Yeah.
No.
Who's Pierce?
Says no.
Who's Pierce?
Oh, Tatum is Pierce. Brown is Walker.
No.
I think so. He is because the reason why I say that, right? Brown, like Antoine Walker, was the more vocal guy, right? The guy that's gonna say, "Hey, we need to play better. We need to do this." That's what Jaylen Brown is, right? And then Tatum, like Pierce, Pierce had moments when his body language was terrible, right? But then every now and then, Pierce would get you 50, he'd get you 40. He has some games in the conference finals. You're like, wow, like okay, this guy could really take you there. Then Danny Ainge comes in, and he lets go of Antoine Walker or the Jaylen Brown at the time. He lets them go, and I remember I'm like, what are you doing? You got two All-Stars together, you let them go, and then they had a period where they weren't that good, and then thanks to him being buddies with Kevin McHale, we was able to get Kevin Garnett. But I'm like, are we banking on that again for them to go get somebody else to come play with Tatum? I don't understand that.
So look at that timeline. Hang on, look at that timeline. Let's compare that timeline to what Mike and I are saying here, because that timeline actually fits our narrative, right? So what happened with Pierce and Walker was that Pierce had to wait. What was it? 9 years before he got the ring. He was drafted in 99,
98,
right?
Yeah. 98, yeah.
98. So 10 years before he got it. So you guys are saying that we should wait 6 years before these guys are good and should be winning a championship, even though they've gone to 3 Eastern Conference Finals in the last 4 years. So what? And I'm going to put words in your mouth here, but I'm going to follow the same timeline. So if Brown goes, let's say that this is what happens. Now we still have to wait 6 more years for this team to turn around and come back.
I don't want that to happen.
And win that championship. Right. So I think that's where you're either way in both scenarios.
But
it doesn't have to be that way. That's what I'm saying. It doesn't have to be that way. Like my thing is, we had Jim O'Brien was here, right? And Jim O'Brien kind of like it's like Brad, right? Jim O'Brien, they were doing things kind of ahead of the curve at the time. They were shooting more threes than everybody. They were running up and down the floor. And Brad was kind of innovative too when he first got here, right? Like so to me, they're in very similar spaces, and they kept climbing, right? I think that 2000 and 2001 season, they were like 36 to 46. Then Pierce comes back after getting stabbed. That team goes 49-33. They beat Philadelphia in the first round, who went to the finals the year before. Then they beat a good Detroit team, right? And then they lost to the Nets in 6. So they were climbing. And then Danny comes in and says, well, you know what? All right, this team has gone as far as it go. We're going to get rid of the coach. They got rid of Walker and they brought in Doc Rivers afterwards. Like, but to me, I don't think you have to get rid of the player. It's the coach you have to get rid of and then see who you can come in. Because my thing is, who wouldn't want to coach Brown? You know who I think. I'm good. This is not going to happen. This is total fantasy. But you know who I think who would be perfect here, and he actually played here on the '86 team. Rick Carlisle would be beautiful here in Boston. Beautiful.
I would love that.
He
Yeah.
would.
That would be perfect. And that
I
was
could
his
see it.
teammate. So I'm like, hey,
Ray,
talk to him, Danny. Talk to him.
So to that end, Ray, if they bring in another coach and you want them to build around Tatum and Brown, another coach is going to have to build around Tatum and Brown a very different way than Brad Stevens is. So you're going to have to blow up the whole roster. So there's going to be a waiting period. So maybe it's not 6 more years, but what are we still sticking to that timeline of 2 to 3 more years with these guys?
I think you may have to, unfortunately. Like I said, unless something comes out of nowhere that we just don't expect, and that would be a blockbuster. I just don't know what that's going to be. Obviously, like I said, he hasn't said it publicly, but we talked about. Tatum wants to play with Bradley Beal. That's not a secret. We all know that wants to happen, but I don't think you have to move Tatum to get Beal. But like I said, we talked about. I think Jaylen Brown could be someone that you could move in a center as a centerpiece, whether it's a 3-team deal or not, to bring in Bradley Beal to play here with Tatum. But that's just me. The guy that gets moved to me is Kemba. It's not those two. Kemba's the guy's going to get moved.
Yeah, but the price, what you can get in return for Kemba right now is not going to be that high because of what you've seen.
Yeah, but I'd rather see. But I want it to be around those two guys. Like I feel like right now it's still too much my turn, your turn. It's like no, you're the two guys. But we moved Kemba to get some other. Remember, I talked about that Dallas deal, Bobby. Remember, I was like, you could go get Tim Hardaway Jr. It was like I forget the 2 other players, but I'm like, you get some guys that's on the bench that kind of know their roles. That's what they need. But it wasn't until then, even though they got KG and they got Ray, when you got your Eddie House, when you got your James Posey, even if we just joked about, I just joked about it, but you had your Scalabrini, you had Leon Poe, when you had guys that. Yeah, PJ Brown. When you had guys that knew their roles, they knew their roles, and they shut their mouths. See what I did there? Yep. And they played hard and they won. That's what you need. Not too many guys. There's too many mouths to feed right now.
The one thing to button up, or just for your Antoine Paul Pierce thing, Bobby. The disparity between Paul Pierce and Antoine Walker at their height, right? So 01, 02, Pierce was averaging 26 points a game. Walker was averaging, I think it was 21. It's like there was you just knew who the better player was, who your person was. What I'm telling you now is, if you look at the stats, it's 0.8 point differential. There you would not notice you would not notice them getting rid of Tatum more than them getting rid of Brown, is my point. And I think that Brown is a guy that will always fight, very rarely quits, and that's who you should build around.
I just think that the way we look at it is it's if you look at guys in the NBA right now, who the all-stars are, none of them won anything in their first 4 or 5 years. You know what I mean? As the main guy. So for us to expect these two dudes who are this young, who play this well, to win championships or get to the championship every single year, I just think is an unrealistic expectation. And we've gotten to the Eastern Conference Finals with these young guys 3 out of 4 years. Do you know how many teams in the NBA would die to be in the Boston Celtics position, to be in this situation, to go to the Eastern? It's just the expectations of this city, which I don't blame it, because I want championships too. But the expectations of this city have put a mindset in everyone that we need to do something to win now. But it's like, listen, we have something that every team in the NBA wants: 2 legitimate superstars.
I feel like that's every city.
But it's not, though. It's not.
I feel like that's every
it's
city,
not like this.
But we've been spoiled,
without a doubt.
We've been spoiled, and we've talked about that. The one thing I want to throw at you, though, is I've never seen you so patient on a team to win championships, Mr. Dallas Cowboys. But you're absolutely right. We need to be patient, but we're coming up on that 5th and 6th year, as I mentioned, or I'm sorry, that the 4th and 5th years respectively for these two guys, and those championships don't look like they're 2 to 3 years down the line. Not if Brooklyn, Philadelphia, Milwaukee can keep everything together. And that segues into my last question of the NBA. So I know we want to get to more on that. We can do that in our next NBA show. But interesting storyline that came out of the NBA last week was Zion Williamson. After he played at Madison Square Garden, he came out and was he was interviewed after the game and came out and said, New York is the mecca of basketball. I love playing in Madison Square Garden. I played here in college. This is my first time playing here in the pros. In this atmosphere, whether cheering for you or booing for you, it's amazing. And he went on to say, and he elaborated, he said he kind of caught himself, and he was really excited during the soundbite. And then he caught himself and said, I would say this is second to New Orleans. So we know what he's talking about. So, Bobby, I mean, you got to look at this realistically, and I understand what you're talking about, but if we stay with that mindset, my personal opinion is we're going to fall behind because now there's 3 teams that are exponentially better, and now we're going to have a fourth if Zion goes to I mean, let's not get people in trouble for things they haven't done yet, but he goes to Madison Square Garden, plays with the Knicks, they turn that entire franchise around. They're still one of the worst owned teams in the NBA, but you got to do something to get there now because everybody else is starting to pull ahead.
To that point, I would just say, because I know that Bobby, this is your response. I'm sorry. We've gotten to the Eastern Conference Finals 3 out of the last 4 years with these young guys. That's awesome. Again, I'm not taking anything away from them. I would also point out that we've gotten to the Eastern Conference Finals without both of them. We got there with Jalen without Tatum, but he was a rookie. It's fine. It wasn't meaningful minutes. But what you want to see out of any basketball team is growth, right? So if Brad can get that team there without 2 All-Stars, and then he gets 2 All-Stars and he can only still get there, it tells you that a change has to be made. That math is the only math that makes sense in my mind.
But what's the common denominator there? Who couldn't get him over the hump?
Yeah, but who could get a lesser team there? Him. So
what you want to do, though, so you want to make a lesser team so that he can get him to the Eastern Conference Finals and we'll have lower expectations but be happy with the Eastern Conference Finals.
Right, yeah.
We've all agreed to get rid of him. We've all agreed to get rid of him.
Be like, oh, but when we get to the Eastern Conference Finals, we'll be happy about it. No,
honestly,
but that's not true because hang on. You know none of us are because we've all said that we want to get rid of Brad. So ultimately, we all want the same thing. So don't start gaslighting.
Right. Okay? No, but I'll say this before we move on.
Go ahead, Ray.
So the perfect scenario, even though we had Kyrie and Hayward hurt, really is that 2017, 2018 team, right? That's the perfect scenario because guess who led them? It was Brown and Tatum who led them in that playoff series. They led them against Milwaukee, let them against Philadelphia, and then they took LeBron to 7 games, right? So that's what we really want. So if you can, that's the ideal. That's the team. That's the type of team I think he can get to a. You need, and I'm telling you, I'm not saying you need a Marcus Morris, but you need a Marcus Morris type piece. You need an Al Horford type of piece, and then you need a Rozier type piece. So if you can get those, they were already here. But if you can get those type of guys here around Tatum and Brown and let them be the focal points, now you got something. That's what I mean. It's like to me, that's what you have to do. Everyone that they knew their role, and they were just figuring it out together, and it was beautiful. It was great, That's what has to happen.
So as we come,
that's it. I'm good, bro. That's it.
So as we come to the end of the first hour of the Sunday Night Sports Wrap presented by Missing the Point, we do want to reset things, and we're going to move on from the NBA. I know we could do the NBA for hours. I mean, it's always a long-winded shows when we talk NBA, but we do have another sport that has gotten into full swing. So we're going to finish up the NBA talk. We want to thank you all for joining us for the Bob Kelly intervention here on the Sunday Night Sports Wrap. It's a 2-hour intervention for Bob to make sure he doesn't get buried in that Celtics shirt. But let's move on to Major League Baseball for hour number 2 of the Sunday Night Sports Wrap, again presented to you by – see, and there he goes. I say we're at the Bob Kelly intervention, and there he goes drinking a Fireball. Not a sponsor. McGillicuddy is not a sponsor either. Same bottle. The good stuff. So once again, my name is Joe Malkin, joined by Mike Marcangelo, Rayshon Buchanan, Bob Kelly, and as always, our clean-shaven EP. Oh, well, he's not always clean-shaven, but
I wasn't until like 2 nights ago. But as you can see, it's already coming back. So.
Me too.
I noticed you had to go 3 streets over to get your microphone. Was it far away? So let's move on to Major League Baseball talk here on the Sunday Night Sports Wrap. And guys, I got to tell you, baseball is fun again. I am having so much fun watching, listening to. Oh my goodness! You know what? The whole thing they tried to do last season was such a sham. But something they're doing is they're allowing the players to be players this year, and they're allowing them to have some fun. And I think it has to do a little bit too with the fact that we're kind of coming out of the COVID era, and we're still playing under a lot of the COVID rules and everything else that's going on in the league. But the double headers are fun. Everything's just been so much fun in this season, and I still think they stink, but our Boston Red Sox are in first place in the East at what are they, 13-9? They won today. 14-9. 14-9. They won today, so they're three and a half games up in the East. It's been a fun start to the season. The Yankees lost today too. That was like I was watching them play the Indians, and that was even nice to see them lose. So for me, baseball is back. I've enjoyed watching a certain series that we'll get to after we talk about.
It was a good day today. There was a good day today. Atlanta was bad. They got They were in a doubleheader with Arizona, and they had a combined 1 hits,
and they got one
in 2 games. And I guess Madison Bumgarner had a no-hitter in the 7th game, but they're not going to count it, so that's fun.
Wow,
they're not going to count it because it only won 7 innings, so they got to change the rules, huh? So yeah, if you're going to have 7-inning games, then you got to count the stats.
I wonder if that happens here, and we all buy Jordan's Furnitures before.
We're going to have to. Let's get Madison Bumgarner, because I don't know if any of the pitchers on this staff are going to throw any no-hitters or perfect games. But guys,
yeah, he's been good.
Who is this team? What is this team? And at 14-9, it's too early in the season. Yeah. It's a 162 game season. We can't get too excited one way or the other. I'm going to stick to my take that they're not very good.
Right.
But what do we think? What do we think of this team? 25 games in?
They're better than we thought. They're fun to watch. They're all likable, and I think what they do well.
It's okay. It's okay. Take your time.
I think what they do well is they beat teams that they should beat, right? And like last year, they couldn't beat anybody. So the difference between last year and this year is that, I think Cora does make such a difference as a manager. He really does. And especially on a team like this, where again, expectations were low, he can coach them through a tough series, and he'll make sure that they can beat the teams that they can beat. But I think in reality, this team, they're not a 100-win team, right? But they're probably 90 wins. And they're fighting for a playoff spot, and I think that's a great place to be, especially after last year.
Yeah, I feel like Cora. The biggest difference with Cora is they're never going to no-show. Maybe not. They could no-show consecutive games, but they're not going to have a stretch where they're going to be bad to watch for like a week in a row. Cora's a great coach, and he's not going to let them not show up every single night. The biggest thing I noticed with this team is they manufacture runs. And I know you love that portion of baseball. This team always gets the guy over. They always hit the sac fly when they need to. When they need to get that runner home, they do. The only thing that scares me, which is kind of crazy because at this point it's been one of their strong city arms. I don't know if it's deep enough, but bullpen has been super so far. Ottavino is awesome. I love Ottavino, man. Fighter is just filthy. It's awesome. So for us to actually have some quality arms in the bullpen here is a change of pace, considering last year from even the starters, anyone that was on the mound, I was like, who the hell is this guy? And that's a complete from this year. So I this team so far this year. I'm a big fan.
It's
right. Yeah.
Go ahead, Ray.
I feel like at the end of our baseball show that we did, which Craig will put in the show notes as well.
Maybe don't put that in the show notes.
Right, no show notes, right? No show notes, right? But I know because we were so off, right?
Yes.
Right, yeah.
We shit on the Red Sox for 2 straight hours, and then they won.
And then they win that 9 straight. Right?
I'm still hey, maybe when they lose 3 in a row, we need to come back on and have a shit.
And
on
they can win 9 more. Right,
it worked last time. I still think they stink. I'm going to throw it out there. Ray, I'll let you.
No, I know that. That's why I always laugh. I was like, I thought about you every time they won. I was like, okay, and I'm like, I know Joe's going to stick to the narrative. And who knows, you may end up being right by the end of the year. But like I said, I'm going to enjoy it now while I can. Right? They've been awesome. Like I talked about this off the air. JD Martinez has been phenomenal. He's clearly back to his 2018 form. He responds very well to Alice Cora clearly, and he's definitely an early favorite for MVP in my opinion. He's been awesome. Love to see guys like Nick Pivetta pitching well. Erod, after having a dead arm, has pitched really well overall. Except for Saturday, Evaldi has been money. Like he was a joke on Saturday or Friday whenever he pitched. But he's been money for most of the year. His arm looks good. Fastball looks good. And like I said, I want to piggyback up what Bobby said about Ottavino. How awesome is it that the Yankees really just threw him to us and they thought, well, you guys aren't going to be that good this year. We'll give you a reliever, just see if we can maybe get you a couple of holds or a couple of saves, some long innings. And he's been awesome. So now, to me, you have a legit 7th, 8th, 9th, right? Because that's Sourmore.
That's awesome, yeah.
Sourmore, Ottavino, then Barnes, who's been money, except for the home run he gave up to Haniger the other night. Which was an absolute bomb. My God.
You're not even talking about the best pitcher in our bullpen, though. Garrett Whitlock, by far.
Yeah, he's pitching great, man. Whitlock is pitching good.
He is. The name was escaping me, but yes, he's been awesome too. So it's like you got him.
Just the role. The Yankees let him into full Rule 5 draft because he was coming off Tommy John, and the Red Sox was like, "Oh, we'll take him," and he's been phenomenal. Hasn't given up a run yet. He struck out pretty much everybody. He's got a dirty, filthy, nasty changeup. Eventually, he's projected for the starting rotation. But as far as right now,
keep him in the bullpen. Yeah.
25 straight batters.
Right.
Yeah. Awesome. 25 straight batters.
Even Valdez has been decent, honestly. So like the whole bullpen finally, which usually is something that we cry about and bitch about here in Boston, is finally a strong point once again. But I mean, is Sale coming back in July? Is he supposed to come back then? June, July.
That doesn't matter though. It typically takes 18 months to come back from Tommy John. So like anything he does for you this year will just be a plus. But we won't be able to count on.
But that's fine. You just need someone who's going to eat up innings, right? And if he can give you 5 to 6 innings, maybe every other start, who knows? Or maybe they do that Tampa Bay thing where he becomes the opener, right? Where he throws maybe 3 or 4 innings, and then you bring in a long reliever guy. Who knows? But
I think for Chris Sale, you'd like to see 70 innings this year.
Yeah, hey, 70 more than last year, so I'll take it. But who knows? Maybe he becomes the David Price for us in the bullpen later on. Who knows? But however, we need to find a way to get him to be on the field. I know. Me and Craig definitely thought that he at the time he was the best pitcher in baseball.
He was.
He was.
He was.
I've been on Chris Sale's bandwagon a long time, like even when he was in Chicago. So I was like, man, I was so happy when we got him. But
with Chris Sale, what happened with him is the thing everybody said was going to eventually happen with him. The way he throws, he's going to destroy his elbow, and he did.
Right, exactly. Right. So yeah, I mean, listen, whatever you can do to strengthen that arm, let's say get that together, and hopefully he can dominate enough for us to still be relevant. But yeah, man, I'm excited to see what they've done. Yes, Xander's got hot as of late, and I said Verdugo's gotten better. I'm still holding out hope for Michael Chavis something. Like I was excited what he did in 2019. But I became a fan. I thought he should have been Rookie of the Year had he kept playing a couple years ago. But yeah, I mean, like I said, I'm like where they are right now, and I'm optimistic about
for him in this team though.
Yeah, it seems like they like Dalbec better than Chavez, right?
And they're not even full on.
Dalbec, but he hasn't been playing. It wasn't like he's been lights out. You know what I'm saying? Like, so I'm like, to me, Chavez had that power. I mean, he was hitting bombs when he first got up here. So that ability is there, in my opinion. Who knows?
The problem with him is they figured out how to throw him a changeup, and then he started hitting like 200.
Exactly. Again. Yeah, right. Exactly. Well, he became Pedro Serrano.
I was gonna say Pedro.
Right, and a lot of the problem with him is that he was part of he's sorry, my child is crying upstairs, and never mind. I'm not going to finish that sentence. I'll have DCF at the front door. So my thoughts on the Red Sox here are: Chavis came from a draft class that was used in the wrong way when they came up, because they were the guys that didn't get shipped out of town by Dombrowski, is how I see most of that draft class, right? So Dahlbeck was part of that as well. I have been down on the Red Sox. I still don't think they're going to be great, but I hope I'm wrong. Kind of like when Mike talks about the Patriots in a lot of ways, you hope you're wrong when you have to be negative about it, but who the hell knew Christian Vasquez could hit? Who the hell knew Christian Vasquez could run? All of a sudden, he's been a man on fire and has been playing very well. I mean, he's scored 11 runs, which is which is fourth on the team. They have Hunter Renfroe, who's basically Adam Dunn. He's going to hit you a home run, or he's going to strike. Oh yeah, absolutely. Are you kidding? Craig, as you sit here, I mean, he's only hit one home run, but he's batting 188. I mean, he's not going to do much for you. It's really bad, but he's got 9 hits on the season in 48 at bats. He's had hits where they've mattered.
Strikeouts.
Yeah, okay. So then my comparison isn't wrong.
I like Renfroe's a bad man when he makes contact. When he makes contact, he's a bad man.
Yeah.
So, but here's the biggest thing about this team is that Alex Cora can manage, and he can manage very well. And though this is the part of the conversation where I wish Dave was on here. So I hope he's listening from his couch out in LA. And again, we hope that Dave feels better. But John Henry is a bag of poo. He's a terrible human being. He's a terrible human being.
He just makes business focused.
He's a bad human being.
He's a great owner. He's someone that comes in and really, because how many championships did the Red Sox win 86 years before him?
I didn't say what team he was a shitty owner.
Didn't Liverpool just win too?
Didn't he almost just basically get them kicked out of the English football
for business
system?
purposes? But again, that's good owner. I mean, you want to try to make money. He just misread the room. He can't read a room. But I wouldn't say he's a bad human being. I will say it takes a certain kind of moron to be like him and come into a situation where a fan base is just clamoring for a championship. He wins for them, and we still hate him.
Hate him.
It's a
you can
special
call me
type
a
of
moron
human
until
being,
the cows come
sure.
home.
No, you're not the moron. He's the moron. All he has to do is just not talk. Just don't.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Just don't.
Just the room.
Just don't speak, John Henry. Just let your teams win, and people will just say, he's kind of weird, but we won a championship. But he does the stuff that he does in Boston. He does the stuff that he's now doing over in Liverpool. And again, he brought championships there, and we still hate him.
Yeah, he's painful.
And the thing about him is right now. I mean, it got to the point, and this isn't the baseball equivalent because obviously Alex Cora came back, and that was the plan the whole time, and Ron Renicky was definitely just a placeholder, and I think he knew that, and I think the Red Sox overpaid him because they knew that that's what they were going to do, which is fine. That's great. If Ron Renicky wants to be the scapegoat, or wants to be the boyfriend that comes in while the couple's on a break, then that's fine. I mean, that's really what he was, and it was a terrible. We were on a break, and they brought Cora back in. And honestly, this is the part where he did right by the Red Sox, and he did the same thing in Liverpool when he hired Jurgen Klopp, and now he's hired Alex Cora over here. Now he almost lost his manager over in England, over in Liverpool, because of the whole Super League thing. But getting back to the Red Sox, having Alex Cora there takes a little bit of the heat off of him. Right. So yeah. See, Bobby, I knew your sister would get in on that one. So it's great for him because this team is playing very well because of Alex Cora. Alex Cora is absolutely one of the biggest reasons why, and they have created a good Hispanic base of players, which is really what Alex Cora works well with. and what those guys. I mean, Rafi Devers, the moment he started playing like crap at the beginning of the season, all of a sudden he turned it around because he's young, he's impressionable, and Alex Cora is the right guy to go in and talk to him and be like, listen, pal, you got to figure it out. And he has. And Devers has been great at the plate. He hasn't played very well at third. We've seen him make some bad throws, but I think that's going to turn around. So there's a lot of bright spots for this team. And Ray, you mentioned Alex Verdugo. I think this guy is exactly the right guy that was needed in Boston at the time. And we didn't know it when they got him last year. We had no idea. We didn't know what this guy was going to be. I think it was the same thing. LA was like, we're going to unload this guy because he's had his off the field issues. And since those kind of got wiped off the map last year, he's been phenomenal. He's been great, and he's a lot of fun to watch. But the guy that needs to go that never should have come here was Francie Cordero. He is awful. He's an awful baseball player. He has no baseball IQ. He's slow as molasses. He has an awful glove, and his bat's even worse.
He's the worst version of Willie Mo Pena.
Yeah, but wait a minute. Even Willie Mo, Willie Mo could actually hit a bomb.
A worse version. Version.
Yeah.
Did you hear what I said?
So he's not Willie Mo Pena.
He's a Willie Mo who can't hit. But so
exactly.
The two acquisitions.
He's Willie No.
I like that. Willie No
Nice.
Pena.
Nice.
The two acquisitions I love though, who are definitely the guys that just have been lighting up, Marwyn, Gonzalez, and Kiki Hernandez. Those two have been awesome. Whether it's with the bat or with their glove. I don't know if you got all that play Marwyn Gonzalez made today up the middle on that double play, but he gobbles up everything up the middle. And Kiki Hernandez at the top of that lineup, he gets some hits in some big spots. And I never feel uncomfortable with him at the plate. I know he's going to have a good at-bat. I know we're going to see what the pitcher has. And I just think Kiki, listen, Craig, you remember I talked shit about it when we signed him. I really like the kind of ball player Kiki Hernandez is. Yeah. Kiki.
Well, Kiki, I always knew was going to, he was a good player. It's just that he's never been a guy, and now he's being he was buried on that Dodgers team because it was just so good, and it still is. So now he's actually get a chance to be a leadoff hitter and actually play every day, no matter what position that's going to be. Obviously, it's a lot in the outfield right now, but he can play the infield. He can play second base right now. That second base thing is kind of a holdover. It's being held over by a bunch of players until Jeter Downs is ready. But he's, getting a chance to play every day, and he's proving that he's a major league ball player. So what do you want?
I like Kiki a lot.
Well, now that Bobby has disrespected Willie Mo Pena and Brian Scalabrine.
Oh God,
tonight.
not the two Boston greats, Scalabrine and Willie. No,
and don't forget Izzy Alcantara.
Yeah. Best baseball brawl ever. All right, anyways.
You did. Oh, that was great.
So I didn't. All right, wait. Before you guys go down that rabbit hole, we're not going there. We're not doing it tonight. Listen, the more I look at it, the more we talk about it. I can't say I'm not excited about this team. I still don't think they're a 90-win team, Mike. I think they might be above 500. I said 74 in the preseason show. But I don't know. I mean, somewhere between 81 and 89. I don't know if they're not. And I know that's nitpicking. But with you, I know I can nitpick because you'll
just
nitpick
one
back.
game lower than what I said is basically what you just meant.
Well, no, because I think when you say 90 games, I think you mean 93 to 94. I don't think you actually mean 90.
I think 90 is their ceiling. I don't think that they. I don't think. Yeah, I think
really.
I expected them at the beginning of the year to be right around like 81, 82, like a real 500 team. But what we've seen, how you start matters, right? And we saw that. You remember it in 2011, right? They started terribly that April. They went on a fire run all through the summer, and then they shit their pants in September. So I think that because of the way that they started out, it still might be a little overinflated, but it wouldn't surprise me to see 89, 90 wins.
Right, but and so I actually for once agree with Mike with that. So this is the thing, right? Things change in the midst of the season, like Mike just alluded to. Clearly, this team can hit. Like there's no we could tell this team can hit 1 through 9. This team can rake. So now, Mr. Nerd Analyst, Mr. High and Bloom, get on the phone and then call whoever you need to call to bring somebody in here that can do something. Because now you got the hitting, they're gonna hit. They're getting 4.5 runs a game, 5 runs a game. Now you bring someone that could be in the pit, that could pitch and can give you some serious innings, and not be what I told Joe off the show was saying they were going to be the 0-2 Red Sox. That's why I told him I predicted they would be the 0-2 Red Sox winning 93 games, but that means they're still 2 years away, like you said, Joe, and that's the case. I don't want them to be 2 years away. I want them to win now.
They're definitely right now. Besides, I think Toronto has the best chance of overtaking them. But in the AL East, they're the best team in the AL East right now. And there's no doubt about that. They're playing the best. They have, the Yankees have a high ceiling, but they're playing absolutely garbage right now. So the way the rest of that AL East is playing, I honestly think 85 to 89 wins could win that division this year. You know what I mean? Like, there's not one team to me that I see winning over 95 games in that division. It would just by the way they're playing right now. Toronto can catch fire, and I guess the Yankees can too. Like you said, they're a very talented team. But I just think that being in that area that we think they're going to be in is going to put them right in a spot to compete for a real playoff spot. And I think we're going to be seeing that in September.
Do you think that this team has a 7-20 stretch in them? Like, do you ever see them losing 20 games out of 27?
I don't.
Yeah,
honestly. I don't.
Then I think that we've all agreed that based on the way that they started, right, that they're probably going to be right around that high 80s, 90 win mark. And if what Bobby just said is true, and the Yankees don't catch absolute fire and never lose, I mean, I think there's a real chance. I mean,
all that money on Garrett Cole.
What's that?
I said all that money on Garrett Cole and 7 games under 500. Hate to see it. Hate to see it.
I just think we're gonna have, hopefully, knock on wood or whatever, we're gonna have a meaningful August and September of baseball that we haven't had in 2 years.
Which is beautiful. Yeah, it's awesome.
Right, it's beautiful.
Well, that's why what I mean by saying that the game is exciting again, right? Like, we're looking at a Red Sox team that's exciting, but we're also seeing a lot of teams around the league that are exciting and fun to watch. And I've watched at least a game from half the league already, and we're only 25 games in. But that's the thing, is we are only 25 games in. So do we want to? We don't necessarily want to get too excited. I mean, I think we all know that the Orioles stink, even though they're only 3 games below 500. And it was great to see Trey Mancini, who I knew through my Cape League days. It was great to see him come back from cancer and start playing again. So great storylines. But I really, you talk about the Blue Jays and the Yankees. I mean, the Rays are 500, and Kevin Cash has done a great job down there. And I think over a 162 game season, sure, he'll have his faults with some of the things he wants to do and some of the things that the Tampa Bay front office wants him to do. But I think that's a good Tampa Bay team, and I think that they could all viably be there towards the end. But it's still going to be the Yankees.
Talk about losing the locker room, though. That call he made last year to take out oh my God. Who was it? Was it Blake Snell?
Blake Snell.
I mean, are you kidding me? I mean,
and then they traded him.
Your life is on the line. Not to steal an old 50-cent line. Your life is on the line, and you take him out the game. Like, talk about losing a locker room. Like, dude, if I'm a Tampa Bay fan or I'm in that locker room, I'm like, yo, I'm not listening to what you got to say. Like, in the biggest moment, you choke like this when this guy is dealing.
Right. You know what's scary about that decision, though? And this is something that has to be said and pointed out. You know what's scary about that decision is that those front office analytics were what Chaim Bloom was a part of up until a year and a half ago.
And it's sad.
That's what scares me.
Too. Oh, yeah. Baseball's pretty much dictated by the nerds now.
Yeah. And that's
which I'm actually seeing. Hang on. I'm seeing a little bit of a change in that this year. I don't think I've seen as much of it through 25, 27 games. I think it's happening still, but they're letting guys play, and home run numbers are up, but they're not up to where they've been in past seasons in recent history. And you see a lot more situational baseball this year, which I really like. And Bobby, I didn't get to bring it up during the show the other night, but while we were taping a show last week, another pitcher got another hit in the National League game. So I'm still going to I will hold strong on that more than I will hold strong on the Red Sox stink, because I think pitchers add another element to the game when they're hitting, and I understand the argument, but that's not what we're doing with this show. So
last thing about this team, like what they could be, I think an early indication that they are 7-4 against teams that are above 500 this early. That's good, right? Because last year
absolutely.
They were awful. They just couldn't beat anybody.
Right.
Yeah.
What did they finish last year? 18-42 or something like that. I don't know what it was, but
sorry.
I want to address Aaron's. Question there, Ray, before you hop in.
There you go.
Go ahead, Craig. Do we want to see more analytics or more old school baseball? And Aaron, I'm going to tell you, I want to see a combination of the two, because I think both are valuable. But there's something lost in the game when the point is to hit the ball over the wall or strike out. There's no. It goes back to the money ball, Billy Bean stuff. It's the we're not going to steal bases. But there's. I saw this in a college game yesterday where a guy walked, he stole second, was bunted over to third, and then sacrifice fly to the outfield. Like, that's baseball.
Beautiful,
that's
man.
exciting.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
And I'm not trying to be a curmudgeon. But it's fun to watch. It's fun to see, because when there's close ball games, when there's a couple of 1, 2, 3 innings mixed in with a couple of crooked numbers, I mean, that's baseball. That's the way it should be. But analytics are going to come into it. And Aaron, to kind of expound on that, analytics have been in this game forever. I mean, Jason Varitek caught 4 no-hitters for the Boston Red Sox, and partly due in part to analytics, because he had an entire binder of every single player on every single team in the American League. I'm sure he had one for the National League as well. But that's analytics. That's fine. But that's where the analytics should be, to me, is not necessarily putting numbers into a computer and then to bring it back full circle, seeing that those numbers tell you to go pull Blake Snell out of a do or die game. I mean, Ray, I mean, we saw this in an old school baseball when Grady Little didn't take out Pedro. I mean, we've seen it both ways. Old school. Sorry, Craig.
The thing with the Rays is the logic they gave, and this is kind of getting away. They all point out the nerds, but their logic for pulling Blake Snell, and really their logic for pulling any of their starters, is they don't want any pitcher to face the lineup 3 times.
Right.
That's the logic for doing that.
Which is ridiculous.
That's
but if you dominate them the first 2 times through the lineup, you know what I mean? If they can't touch you the first 2 times, odds are they're not going to touch you that 3rd time. The thing with baseball, we've all played baseball before. When a pitcher is dominating you and they get taken out, it is the most upsetting thing for that entire team. As soon as there's a new pitcher on that mound, the entire team's like, oh, new pitcher. And it's over. You know what I don't know how many times I've seen that, where you take out a dominant pitcher, and as soon as that reliever's in there, even if that guy's stuff is electric, it's someone new, so the confidence is different, and it turns the game around.
Perfect example.
The nerds don't know
exactly. Right.
It is.
Ray, I've now interrupted you 4 times.
You're good. So
Ray,
two things. So one of my favorite things when we were starting this at the beginning of this podcast was Joe texting saying, like, giving us an update of the Red Sox record every time they either win or lose. That was hilarious to me. I thought that was great. I think you should keep doing that, honestly. It was like, so they'll be 17-90 or whatever. Like, it was awesome. It was hilarious. Perfect example to the old school versus the analytics thing. Like, I remember, I want to say it was the Red Sox and Tigers series. It might have been, it had to be 2013. That's the only time they faced each other in the ALCS. I think Annabelle Sanchez was dealing. I want to say it was game 1, I think, and they took him out after 6 innings. And all of a sudden, like, the Red Sox caught fire. It might not have been game 1. It might have been game 3, but it was game 3. I think Napoli hit the home run or whatever. Like, and it was just like, what are you doing? Like, if you're a Tigers fan, it's like, like, Jim Leyland, what are you doing? Like, the Red Sox cannot hit anything off of Sanchez. You take them out, and the next thing you know, now you lose 5-1. That's on you. Well, because you didn't want to see them 3 times, and you want to protect the arm, and you want to make sure guys are coddled. You end up losing the series and end up losing the game. So it's a lot. It's a lot that goes into it. But I mean, Joe, you're right. It should be a mix of both. But I lean more towards the old school tactics. Like, look, I'm gonna pitch till my arm fall off. So the Nolan Ryans, Randy Johnson, Kurt Schillings. I'm obviously missing a lot of people.
Ryan.
Pedro. No, yeah,
I
yeah.
feel like
It's crazy.
I feel like those guys would have like fought back against the managers, though.
Yeah,
I don't know about these new guys.
But as you should though,
which
you
is
should
fine because that goes.
You should.
Yeah.
I'm not coming out because you say I should have faced the guy 3
that's
times.
what managers did.
Are you dumb? Like Kevin Cash, listen. You shouldn't have cashed in at that moment, Kevin. You should have let that man sit out. You should let that man continue to pitch and just go from there. But you chose to cash out, Kevin, and now your ass is without a ring. Hate to see it. Congrats to Mookie Betts. Miss you, brother.
And now it's without Blake Snell.
yeah.
Right, exactly. Dummy. Stupid.
Right,
He was gone anyway.
Also, I think like the perfect meld of stats and old school baseball is the 01 through 04 A's and then like the 04 Red Sox, right? They had guys, they had real leaders, but they didn't. It wasn't an overwhelming roster like the Yankees in 04. The Yankees were just powerhouse. Sox were very, very, very clean and not clean. It was
they were very dirty.
It was a well orchestrated
Right.
machine. Each of them had their roles. There wasn't going to be 45 home run hitters on that team, but they were all there for a particular reason. My last point would be the Red Sox so far this year already have half as many wins against teams 500 or better as they did last year.
Right.
Last year they were 13-26 against teams above 500.
Awful.
Which is about right. So as we hit the 7:30 mark here, we want to welcome you into the Sunday Night Strip Show. Every time somebody leaves us a comment, Craig will take off a piece of clothing. We're talking about Major League Baseball. You can go back to the first. Well, you know what? I want the comments. So Craig will take off 2 pieces of clothing for every comment. We're talking Major League Baseball. First hour, we went over the Boston Celtics and the NBA. We were going to possibly talk about the NFL draft, but that is going to be something to look out for that will come out later this week that we're recording. Later this week, we're going to see a lot of each other, guys, this week. So, but welcome into the Sunday Night Sports Wrap presented by MTP, Missing the Point. And you guys can follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and we do have a Facebook where we post news stories and a lot of things about our episodes as they come out. So we appreciate everybody. Craig, that's a little too fast, but I like the one about Dave making fun of you on Twitter. Just come at him about soccer or MMA. So, but let's stick with the MLB because, guys, I mentioned at the start of the hour here that baseball has been made fun again for me this year. I enjoy watching it. I put it on in bed when I'm falling asleep. When the kids aren't yelling at me to put on cartoons, I put on baseball. I'm watching it everywhere right now because to me it's exciting to watch.
You want to watch the cartoons
what's that?
too?
Well, I do want to watch the cartoons. It depends on what it is because I at any point in time during the day I have about 4 theme songs floating around in my head for various shows. But one thing I want to talk about involves a guy that could have come here as a free agent this offseason, and that's Trevor Bauer. And I want to talk about the LA Dodgers and the San Diego Padres, which is very quickly becoming a national rivalry. I think the San Francisco Giants might argue that a little bit, but at the same time, they're not as good. Even though Brandon Belt, one of my favorite players in the league, is on that team. I think that what they're doing in San Diego,
the biased argument.
What's that? He's still there. Belt's still in San Francisco.
Yeah, he is. Yeah, he's actually playing the. It was really weird when they were talking about him the other night, and they were like 33-year-old Brandon Belt, and I was like, shoot, I'm old. So, but we talk about this rivalry that's forming in front of us on the West Coast, and I watched Walker Buehler the other night, and I sent you guys a message when Fernando Tatis Jr. led things off for the Padres, and it was Walker Buehler on the mound, and I felt like a kid again. I was excited to watch. It was like watching Derek Lowe step on the mound for the Red Sox against Derek Jeter. It was just so much fun to see somebody having fun again, and Walker Buehler dialed in, and Fernando Tatis having fun in the field with Manny Machado, and it's just baseball in the way that they have portrayed it over this 4-game series, or this weekend series, I should say, has been a blast. And then last night you had Fernando Tatis Jr. going yard off of Trevor Bauer and basically celebrating, and they went at it very friendly on Twitter afterwards, and it was a wholesome exchange between two otherwise very manic gentlemen, which is fun. I want that, and I think that that's what everybody else wants. And we saw Trevor Bauer exchange with a few Padres players. So guys, I guess where I'm going with this is this the kind of baseball we want to see, and is this the kind of baseball that our generation and my kids' generation or our kids' generation want to see?
Yes.
For sure.
You need more emotion in this game. Okay, so the things that make sports what they are, outside of the fantastic plays, are the emotions behind it and the reactions on the field or on the rink, right? I mean, you all remember the emotion that it was when Paul Pierce was wheeled out in the wheelchair, the Lakers, and then he came back in that game, right? Like you just feel it. And baseball, for the longest time, they're penalizing, Jose Batista for flipping his bat. Like, no, the guy just hit it 600 feet. Flip the bat, dude. You know what? Like, yeah.
Playoff game.
And if the pitcher has a problem with it, how about next time you fucking strike him out? How about that? And so you get more of that. I think that this game is going to become more enjoyable because baseball it's a hard game to watch or to explain to like an adult that has obviously that's never watched it before. Kids can get ingrained in it, but you reach a certain point, like once you're like 20 years old, where if you don't really have a team, you're not going to dedicate 3.5 hours of your day to watch it just to watch someone hit a single or play the way that people that love baseball want the game to be played. You need that emotion. So yes. We need it more. I loved what I saw. I loved what I saw last night. I loved that the pitcher even said, "You know what? Yeah, that's what you want." He got me. Sure.
So Mike, that's what you're alluding to, right? It's like a lot of these pitchers, not necessarily Bauer or Buehler or these guys, but it was kind of like it was almost like a WWE match watching these guys go after each other last night. Like it was fun. And you knew, I mean, obviously not scripted in Major League Baseball, but but it was fun to watch and fun to see. But that's the problem, Mike, is that so many of these pitchers and there's so many of these unwritten rules in baseball, and I know them and I respect them. I respect the game and all that stuff, but it's not fun if every time somebody goes to celebrate or somebody goes to honor something they did well on the field that someone else has to get mad. Okay, great. You want to get mad and plunk them in the ear hole? Great. We want to see more charging the mound because we've lost a lot of the fighting in hockey anyway. So give us more of it in baseball. So I'm with you there, and I have to reply to Aaron's comment about Jake DeGrom.
I don't know what you're talking about,
Bobby. He's 6 for 11 on the season with 3 runs scored. I'm sorry, he's 7. Total bases. So he's 6 for 11 with a double, 2 RBI. He's only struck out twice in 11 at bats. Pitchers are making a comeback at the plate, Bobby. I'm telling you, it's happening.
Jake
right
DeGrom is a specimen, man. He's unbelievable. I agree with Aaron. He might be the best player in baseball. He's close. But to go back to your Padres thing, this is by far the most fun I've had watching baseball in years, watching these two teams play each other. I love the emotion and the celebrating. Baseball's the only sport that it's not allowed, that you're not allowed to show people up, that you're not allowed when you embarrass someone to let them know that, listen, I just embarrassed you, bro. Like,
right.
Any other sport, you can do that. Like, you look at football, how many times, like, people get in other faces and, like, tell them to be quiet. Or basketball, you get dunked on. What do? They stand over them and flex over them. Hockey,
then they call it tech.
Right. Well, but you know what I mean. Like,
well, Well, yeah, but they call it tech,
It's
but still,
still
I mean,
that emotion
but
is
what
there,
they're doing in
right.
baseball, finding these guys thousands and thousands of dollars for having emotions and being humans. I mean, they're not robots, and this is where and Ray, we've talked about this before, where Mike Trout is still probably the best non-pitcher in baseball. Okay, so we'll separate DeGrom and Trout that way, but Mike Trout is very quickly going to get overtaken, even if the guy's not as good as he is necessarily, because Mike Trout is very dry compared to some of these new personalities coming up in the league. And I mean, we're seeing guys that are celebrating great catches in the outfield. We're seeing it, it's none of this just catch the ball and run in. It's catch the ball and a fist pump. And there's emotion. It's fun. It's exciting to see. And that's the best part is, growing up, it was always coaches would say to us, and Bobby, I know you've heard it a million times, especially in baseball, where it's like a guy makes a routine ground ball and somebody says, hey, nice play. And they turn to somebody and they're like, it's just a routine ground ball. It's like, well, maybe it wasn't. Maybe something funky happened in that you didn't see that made it less routine, like when Josh Donaldson got the ball stuck in his glove the other day. Another funny moment that comes out of baseball, which is something, I mean, we all remember the blooper reels from baseball from the 90s and early 2000s. We haven't had those in the last 5, 7, 10 years. It's just everybody's been told.
But
to
also,
be a
like, that
robot.
type of emotion in a game in April tells you as a fan they're invested, so I need to be invested, right?
Yeah,
exactly.
If they're locked in like that, then why? If I'm watching this game, and now I need to be, and we shouldn't just save these for late September, October, November games, and that's how baseball will get back the fans that they have lost over the last 15, 20 years. And I think, do whatever you can to make the game safe. I always loved as a fan watching those home plate collisions. But sure, like I don't want anyone to get CT or anything like that. So, like, let them inject their personality and emotions into every single game, and I promise the game will be popular again. It just will be.
Right.
Yeah, and it's like you think about, so like you just said, this is the emotion and intensity we're seeing in April.
Right.
I can't wait for October. I cannot wait. And that's something that I haven't said since 2-3 years ago. You know what I mean? Like, even if the Red Sox don't make the playoffs, I promise you, I'm still going to be locked into these playoffs this year. And last year, there's a lot of good teams, and there's a lot of young, fantastic players. Like from Fernando Tatis, from Bo Bichette to Walker Buehler. There's so many young players.
My guy Tim Anderson.
Tim Anderson. Yeah. Carlos Correa. You know what I mean? Like, you just go right down the list. And this is the most talented we've seen baseball in a long time. And I just hope that baseball actually lets this happen, because we've seen this kind of emerge in the past, but baseball kind of put the brakes on it. You know what I mean? Like you said, with the Batista, with these guys in baseball, was like, whoa, wait a second.
Can't do that.
I just hope they actually let them go now. And I think they will. That's what I've seen so far. It does seem like they're going to.
Right.
Mike, to your point, we saw this with Nick Castellanos at the beginning of the season, right? When he came home and then kind of stood over the pitcher and flexed, and it's like, all right, the pitcher got pissed, and Major League Baseball kind of put the kibosh on it, but let that stuff happen.
Nobody was hurt in the making of that moment, all right? And that moment will live on throughout this season.
That's debatable. His feelings were hurt, Mike.
I was just going to say,
His feelings were hurt.
All right, well, let's do it for Ray on the show tonight, guys. Thanks for joining us, Ray. No, but you're absolutely right. But that's what it was coming down to, right? Everything was getting soft, and people were saying, "Oh, my feelings are hurt, and these are the unwritten rules." But Mike, to that end too. Then you talk about a play where somebody got hurt. I mean, Buster Posey had his leg shattered into 2 pieces, and one of the best catchers of a generation basically had his career changed forever. And it just never went the way. It wasn't cut short because he's still playing, but it was changed, and that's the stuff you don't want to see. But at the same time, you're right. There's so many good young players right now. We're seeing a turnover in front of our eyes, and if Rob Manfred is smart enough, we don't really know, because he was hammered after the last game of the World Series and slurring every single one of his words when he was presenting the World Series MVP. But if he can figure it out, and now he has Theo in the commissioner's office as well, if they can band together and keep this thing going in the right direction while also making the proper rules, we're going to be having fun.
If there was ever a
baseball
time
again.
to kind of relax the whole, like, don't show too much emotion or anything like that, it's coming out of a global pandemic where people have been boxed up for the last 14 months, and they want to go watch their team. They want a reason to be invested, right? And what baseball has done, I could be, again, just my opinion, I feel that baseball has done this over the last 15 years, that they've conditioned you to believe that you can only expect that emotion in the one-game playoff and all the postseason, which is why, I tune into those things. But if you're telling me that I'm going to see the type of stuff that I've seen in the last couple of days from April through, now I'm back. Do you know what I mean?
Right, and like that's the moment. That's the moments you remember.
Absolutely.
Like we talked about earlier in the show, right? That Mookie Betts Jay happened back. Like that, Fenway was rocking that night. Rocking.
Time to party.
It's time to party, and it's like the 14, 15 pitch at bat, and he throws that slider low middle end, and I mean Mookie just loses it into Lansdowne Street. Like it was beautiful to see. Like. And like the reason why I brought up Tim Anderson, I felt like a couple of years ago kind of restarted this again. Like he was doing the bat flips, and then Yordano Ventura got in his feelings, and there was a lot of battles going between Kansas City and Chicago, and it's like, this man's bringing excitement to the game that we haven't seen. Like I said, that Batista play, that home run he hit, it was against Baltimore. Was it Baltimore in the one game playoff? And I remember it's funny, of all people, Ernie Johnson was on that call, which is hilarious.
Right.
Basketball guy going. Yeah, he was just like. I mean, basically, I've never seen the camera shake like that. I mean, that crowd in Toronto was on fire too. It was just nuts. So yeah, like you have to have more of those moments. Like we need the 03-04 feeling again. Like when it was an event to go to Fenway Park. It was an event to go to. Then it was called the Fleet Center. It was an event to go to Gillette.
But that's what it should be for every single game. So I'm gonna have hats made, and they're gonna say "Mubfa" on it. Make baseball fun again. So that's what we're gonna make the new saying in the United States of America is "Mubfa." And to go along with this, and I know we've lost track and we've gone down some roads here, but this is a fun conversation because it's about bringing back a sport that we all love so much and making it fun and bringing back the memories that we've talked about on our rewraps and everything else is those feelings we had as kids, and I love having those feelings. And seriously, that's what I felt like the other night when I texted you guys and said that and was like, hey, this is a great matchup between Walker Buehler and Fernando Tatis Jr. And these are the guys that these young kids should be watching because they play the game the right way. And but to keep going with this conversation, Mike, we've talked about it. You and I went at it at length, mostly with Bobby, about rule changes in baseball to make the game better and to make the game faster, and that's still a problem. And I still believe that two of the things they need to do, one is for exposure, which is a national TV deal, like the NBA. The NBA has one too, but like the NBA, but more like the NFL, where you can have a game every night, and it doesn't necessarily, but to get exposure of other teams, lesser known teams, and really, because I mean, who besides us five, who the hell knew who like a Troy Tulowitzki or a DJ LeMahieu were when they were stuck in Colorado? Like who knew who those guys were? Sure, we did. But when DJ LeMahieu showed up in New York, I can tell you that the Yankees fans were probably trying to figure out who the hell this guy was too. He's been playing in the major leagues. Where? Yeah, Colorado. Did you know Colorado had a team? So let's expose these teams a little bit more.
Stupid.
I mean, he was definitely hitting like 340 the year before he got to New York. So if you didn't know,
but you'd be surprised.
That man was a problem. You'd be surprised. I mean, I got you right though.
But Ray, we say that about, you know what I mean? Like we say that about us, you and me. Yeah, we knew who this guy was, but some people that are Yankees fans may not have because they're only watching Yankees games because they're not exposed to these things. They don't get the opportunity to watch these guys play. They only know sometimes in some cases the terrible teams
it's a
that are
regional
put out in front of
sport
them.
for sure.
So and then It is a regional sport, and that's too bad because it should be a national sport because we call it our national pastime, and you can only watch certain teams in certain areas. But then, Mike, to some of the other things that we've talked about in the past, I think they need to go to a system that they do in NASCAR, and they need to allow the game to continue while playing ads on the side. And if that means finding a dull point in the action to throw up a commercial and just do it, you still want to get your TV spots, fine. You want to take a minute in between innings and go put on 2, 3, 4 spots that are 15 to 30 seconds, fine. But the Major League rulebook and every rulebook says that a pitcher has 8 pitches or 1 minute. So these guys are taking forever because they get 2.5 minutes. Those 2.5 minutes aren't for the pitcher to warm up. Those 2.5 minutes are for 5 commercial spots. So you take that away, we can take away 38 minutes in between innings alone if you go down to a minute. So the game is getting fun, but they still got a long way to go.
I want a shot clock, like a pitching clock. So I want a 24-second pitching clock. I want what you just said about eliminating the time in between when a pitcher comes in, or 8 pitches or 1 minute. Yeah, let's tone that down too. Let's get the commercials on the side. I also really love the 7-inning doubleheader. I really love that. Mm-hmm. Like it.
But if a guy's going to throw a no-hitter,
that's wild. That's wild.
Someone threw a 7. Madison Bumgarner hit a 7.
Sorry, Mike, go ahead.
7-inning no-hitter today.
Yeah. No, I just think that makes the game much more enjoyable. And then last year they had their extra innings that a runner started on second. Like, that's fun, but I don't know if that's sustainable. You can't do that in the playoffs for sure. But I think.
That's an international
shot or pitch clock, 7-inning doubleheaders, and then eliminate commercial breaks. And I think that you now take a game that's averaging like 3 hours and 10 minutes. If you bring that down to 2:35, like an average basketball game, people can no longer say, "Well, I don't have the attention span to watch." Yes, you do. Now it's about
you're watching football games.
About if you shorten the game and you let them inject their emotions into it, there's no reason why people won't flock to this game like they did in the 90s.
Yeah, I love the 7-inning games. It adds so much urgency to the game. Like you're down 2 runs in the 5th inning, and it's time to put the pedal to the metal. And in normal baseball, you're down 2 in the 5th inning. You still got 4 innings and another hour and a half of baseball left. You know what I mean? I love the 7-inning games. It's honestly my favorite games to watch. I love the shot clock too, the pitch clock.
With the 7-inning games, just to expand on that, and I want to go right back to you, but where I first saw where it was like scheduled 7-inning games, besides like Division III college athletics, where I see all the time, was in the Cape Cod Baseball League, which is, again, guys that we see all the time. But a few years ago, they went to scheduling 7-inning doubleheaders on Sundays against teams in the opposite division. So when an East team was playing a West team, they would play 4 times in a year, but 2 of those games would happen, at one site, doubleheader, 2 7-inning games, and that's how they would settle those 2 games. They mean a little bit less, sure, they still mean a lot, right? But every team's doing it, so it's fine. We're not canceling games on a Wednesday and now having a doubleheader on a Saturday, and then everybody else is just playing single games. So I think if you schedule those doubleheaders, you loosen up the schedule a little bit. You can stay with 162 at that point. And you're right, Bobby. You add more. You add more to the game that teams have to get back in it, and then you allow the excitement. And I think we're in the right direction. But go back to your shot clock.
I love the pitch clock because it adds such another element to the game where you're putting a sense of urgency and something on the pitcher now too, where he can't sit there and wait for that perfect pitch. He can't do that. It adds a whole nother mental element into the game, and I love it. I think, is it Miners that's doing it right now? I think AAA has a pitch clock right now, and it's working really successfully for them. I know a lot of people have liked it, and I think that's something that MLB should really look into. And I think that's very reasonable. You know what I mean? That's something that you can implement. That's really not going to change the record books. That's really not going to change baseball, because that's like the big thing is like you can't change the game of baseball. Listen, that's not changing it.
The game has changed a lot.
That's just speeding it up. Our fathers back in 1872, you can't change it.
If you do it, come on. If you have the pitch clock in every form of minor leagues, then the pitchers will be preconditioned to only have that amount of time by the time that they get to the majors, right? So that could work too. Just speed it up.
And it worked for Ty Cobb and Walter Johnson. So why is it going to work for Walker Buehler and Chris Sale and those guys? Why not? Why is it going to work for those guys? Yeah.
Also, 120 games. That's it.
No, I still like the 162. I'm still with that.
It's a long season.
I'll meet you in the middle, Mike. We've talked about that. 142, what they do in the minor leagues is already good. Take 20 games off, and you play, a certain amount of double headers. You're giving guys an extra day off. You might even, I don't think you'll ever really lower salaries, but you might lower AAVs that way in the long run. 142 is still a lot, but I think cutting it drastically by 42 games, Mike, is a lot.
You do that, you reduce the amount of division games, right? Because then each time you play, it matters that much more. And I also I love interleague games. Like I used to love going to Fenway to see the Red Sox play the Mets. And when Pedro went there, that's a fun series, and that's how you expose more people in different markets.
So mad.
Players.
I was so mad.
Pretty good.
Then again, I'd have left for $53 million too. I get it. I understand, Pedro. I understand.
Pedro and Glavine on the same roster. That means what can go wrong?
They're 80.
So as we come, we're 5 minutes away. We're 5 minutes away from the 8 o'clock hour. Thank you, all of you who have joined us at some point during the Sunday Night Sports Wrap here on our April edition. We did not have a March edition. Things are getting a little crazy for the Missing the Point crew. However, we are still sticking to our schedule and getting out great content and great interviews weekly. And we are, as always, going to continue our live shows. We didn't market this one necessarily as well as we wanted to, but I'm glad we still did it. That was a fun 2 hours. And
it's been on the end of all of our shows like the last 2 weeks.
Well, yeah, but you got to listen to the show all the way through to get it, so you can't say that the marketing
as soon as you click it, you hear the advertisement.
Right, from the VOG, baby. VOG.
It's an advertisement. Who's paying for it?
Okay,
fair enough. All right. Well, anyway, this got awkward fast. Final thoughts at the end here of the Sunday Night Sports Wrap. Unfortunately, we don't have our favorite segment that everybody comes here for, which is the State of the Sizzle. Does anybody have anything they want to even attempt to throw out there, like the State of the Sizzle?
We can do classes in session with Ray.
Oh my.
All right, well, you know what? I think we got to do classes in session anyway with Ray, so we're going to do classes in session with Rayshon Buchanan. I was going to go to you for your final thoughts first anyway, so go right ahead.
Well, we've had a great 2 hours, but, it's time to get a little bit serious here. America's been under some turmoil as of late, and, the stuff that's happened in Columbus, Ohio, the Derek Chauvin case with him getting, him getting his sentence. So, listen. All we want is for you to hold law enforcement accountable. We're not saying people got to lose jobs, lose lives, or lose their life. We're sick of seeing people of color lose their lives. And this is not a black or white thing. This is a human thing. And it's about getting that right, and it's about holding people accountable. So I'm not giving this long JFK type speech like, ask not what you could do for your country, I'm not asking all that. Hold people accountable, hold law enforcement accountable. Once again, not a race thing, it's a human thing. And that's all I gotta say on that. So classes in session, but it's like we gotta hold these people accountable.
Here's my small thing. Here's my small thing with that.
Mm-hmm.
We're not gonna do a rabbit hole about this, but people always say, it's not everybody, it's just a few bad apples. Well, if you don't punish the bad apples, then they're gonna feel like they can just continue to do what they've been doing.
Right, correct.
And there will be more.
Yep.
Yeah, no, accountability is really the biggest thing. Well, no, it's not the biggest thing, but accountability is one of the biggest parts of this. I think Ray said that very eloquently, but as not a black person, I will say that accountability has to be held for everybody in every profession around the world. Everybody has to be held accountable for everything they do. And you know what, guys? It's such a microcosm, but we always hold each other accountable for the things that we do, and if we don't, we pick up the slack, but we always talk about it. and I think that is something that has to be viewed on a world stage. And there's a lot of problems in this country, Ray, and I don't want to expand on it too much because I think you said it very well. And I think Classes in Session with Mr. B is going to have to be something that we throw in here. I know that Dave covers some of the stuff that you cover as well, but it's always nice to hear the point of views from two guys that are from two very different communities and are on two very different ends of the country. So very well said. Bob Kelly, in your dead guy shirt, what's your final words?
To expound on what Ray said a little bit, rot spreads, man. You let one rotten apple in, all of a sudden the entire bucket of apples is rotten. So I completely agree. Rot will always spread. Second, I'm excited. Next week is my first live sporting event since the COVID season started. And I couldn't be more excited about it. Going to the Celtics Spurs next Friday. Also, next week, there will be a big announcement coming from me. It's not related to the show, but I will make it on my next
we finally
appearance
talking about
on the Sunday Night Sports Wrap. I'm not announcing it yet.
No.
Big market tease. Next show, big announcement from the real BK Bob Kelly.
He's finally going to pay me back. He's finally going to pay me all my money back.
I was going to say, Bob. I was going
In
to say,
certain
Bob,
ways,
don't do it. It's about time.
It's like spoiler
Mike, don't hold your
alert. He's
breath.
getting a new fish tank, guys. That's all.
Yeah.
Dude, he needs to fix
Yeah, it's quieter. Mr. Marcangelo, what do you have?
Yeah,
for us?
so we'll go with the most important thing first. We're now finally, after two postponements, we are 90 days from my wedding. So I cannot wait to have that done. I've been waiting for this for a very long time. So that's the most exciting thing. Number two, Patriot fans, get ready to be pissed off. Like, we're going to talk about that this week, but they are not going to do the things that we want them to do. Get ready for it. Listen to our show that we're going to be releasing in the next couple of days about the NFL draft. But I promise you, if you think that they're going to trade up for a quarterback, you are wrong.
So no big announcements from me. I'm already married and have the family that I need, so nothing's gonna happen there. But from all the sports point of views, I cannot wait for this draft show. So if you've made it this far into hour 2 of the Sunday Night Sports Wrap, be sure to look out for that, because we're gonna revisit some of the points that we talked about with Karen Gregan and Anthony Triche along the way in some of our interviews that Craig has been throwing up during the episode, so that you can kind of see what's been talked about and what's been said already. And I'm with Mike. I don't think we're going to be trading up. But the last thing I have to say is thank you, everyone, for joining us. Guys, always love doing the show with you. I think we did a good job for it being thrown together. What's that, Craig? What do you? Oh shoot! I'm sorry. That's right. Yeah. You're here tonight. I'm sorry.
First of all,
I thought there was
we
some
have the sound bite.
Yeah.
Oh, you're here tonight.
I didn't know who you were with that shaved face, Craig. Let's hear from Craig D'Alessandro, our EP, on the thoughts.
You can find him at
Craig.
OnlyFans-Craig D'Alessandro.
No, OnlyFans the Italian stallion.
That's right.
Nothing sports or political for me. I guess kind of political, probably not though. Just a big ups to for everyone doing the mass vaccination sites, because I did mine like a week and a half ago over Gillette, and people are thinking how they're going to run this. I was in and out of Gillette, and Gillette's big. Gillette is huge. Yeah. I was in and out of Gillette Stadium in 30 minutes vaccinated. So credit to these people for putting these things together and getting as many arms as they can of people. Over 1 billion people have been vaccinated across the planet now. So, we're 1/7 of the way there, but, it's big.
We're on our way. And Bobby, I do have to just say one thing to you going to your first live sporting event in over a year. I went to mine last night, the Revs win over DC United, and everyone is very friendly and very angry at the same time. And it's so much fun. And I hope that you don't have a voice Saturday morning, because I didn't think I was going to have one today. But to close out the show, for Ray Sean Buchanan, Bob Kelly, Mike Marcangelo, Craig D'Alessandro, get vaccinated, spay and neuter your pets. I'm Joe Malkin. We'll talk to you next time